Confidence, borderlining on cocky on the message board. I love it. Mr. Jones saying Heupel the Saban Slayer. Maybe. Vols are lighting cigars in Birmingham. Here we go, message board, ready to fire it up. I think they're going to play in Tuscaloosa, but nevertheless, Caleb, I don't think they're playing in Birmingham.
Yeah, that's old school. I don't think they played in Birmingham since 1997.
Yeah, was it 97?
97. Yeah, because it was notable because the Fred White trash talking Sean Alexander game was the first time Alabama played Tennessee in Tuscaloosa in like 60 years at the time. It's
nice. Travis saying we will hammer them if Milroe is their quarterback. So I ask you this question based off what we've heard post spring practice, and it's brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. Integrity matters, over 50 years in the HVAC service in Knoxville. Is Alabama fading or rebuilding? Because you've used the term rebuilding here a couple of times, looking for a quarterback. Probably should have lost 2 more games last year. So are they fading or rebuilding?
They're rebuilding. They just had the number 1 recruiting class in the country, and they're going to have it again. Nick Saban has been on, Jaru has been talking about this. Nick Saban's been on a tear, an angry tear on the trail ever since what happened at the end of last year. And I think that those recruits will come to fruition. It's just, look, you never pick a team based on the recruiting class of that year. Like you never pick, I'm not going to base Alabama's success in 2023 based on their 2023 recruiting class. And so I think they're rebuilding. I think sometimes we kind of forget this. And I want to just point this out. Yes, Alabama's won, 6 national titles under Nick Saban. I think we've forgotten, because of the fact that they've won 6, how hard it is to win a national title and how lucky you have to be a lot of times. And I think that, yes, Alabama was good enough to win those titles. They were a dynasty. They were the best team in football most of those years, but they still had to have some luck. Let's think about the 2011 team, the one that lost to LSU and got the rematch in the national title game. That only happens because Oklahoma State blows a 24-7 lead on a Friday night to some unranked Iowa State team. If that doesn't happen, it's Oklahoma State and LSU beats the brakes off Oklahoma State. And Les Miles is the worst 2-time national champion in the history of any sport. And so,
okay, I want to see your face when I say this. Alabama's fading. They're fading under Nick Saban. They are. He can continue to work hard on the recruiting trail, but there's uncertainty about what to do on both offense and defense. He had a bad round of coordinator hires before this latest one. They're having quarterback issues. Their skill position players, other than Jahmyr Gibbs, weren't special. And, well, Bryce Young, if you want to consider him a quarterback, a skill position players. But other than those 2 guys, they were pretty average. I think defensively, for whatever reason, I thought Will Anderson took a slight step back. The secondary was good, not great. I think they've taken a step back, Caleb. I really believe that, and I think it's a fading. I think that's what's going to happen. At some point, this will happen, and I think you would agree. You would say Nick Saban is fading as the dominant head coach in college football. The question is that now in 2023? Was it last year in 2022, or is it moving forward 2024, 2025, and into the future? At some point, that's going to be the answer to the question, and I think to a large extent it was last year.
Is he fading or are other coaches emerging? Look, we've talked about this. Kirby Smart at Georgia, and Georgia finally deciding we're not going to be the integrity school. We're just going to go all out and win like the rest of the schools do. I'm not blaming Georgia for Georgia fans. I'm not blaming you guys. Every other school was doing it. You guys just finally decided to do it too. And then Brian Kelly at LSU, again, an LSU coach with some brain cells for the first time since Nick Saban. I think that it becomes a lot harder for Nick Saban because there's much more competition in terms of a match of wits than there used to be. But just to push back, Dave, I mean, look, Alabama got 2 5-star edge rushers this past year in Yonze Pierre and Keon Keeley, and their recruiting class was just loaded with talent. I mean, we say we don't know who their skill weapons are. And we don't know who their star defenders are. They will be there in 2 years. This class was loaded up on defense and offensive linemen.
Yeah, but will Nick Saban be there in 2 years?
I think Nick Saban is going to be coaching until he croaks.
That could be, but I do think they're fading. And you brought up a good reason as to why I believe that. You have Georgia that is now a dominant program. You're going to have Brian Kelly at LSU do well with the Tigers. I think Steve Sarkisian will do well at Texas, and now they're going to be in the SEC. So maybe it's not through Nick Saban's fault, but I do believe he's fading. Part of it, though, is I believe it's his fault. I don't believe he's a good fit for the modern day college football. I think he was uncertain about tempo on offense. It took him a while to adjust to that. I'm nitpicking an incredible Hall of Fame career, by the way. Okay. So don't think I'm ripping on Nick Saban. I'm not. But, and he's now had to overcome the transfer portal and NIL, which I guess to a large extent they've done based off their recruiting. But I don't think it's something that he's particularly comfortable with, Caleb.
It's not, but it's probably something Nick Saban's more comfortable with than most. I'm going to be honest. Let's talk about Nick Saban for a minute, because we sometimes compare him to a coach that was never there in terms of previous Nick Saban, which is even in his prime, even like when Nick Saban had Alabama winning 3 national championships in 4 years, there was never a time period, was there, where you thought if you had one game for your life and you needed a coach to game plan for that game, Nick Saban was never at the top of that list.
He was for me after Lane Kiffin. When he embraced tempo, I thought before that he would get 12, 13, 14-point lead and sit on it in the second half. And I thought an in-game coach, I thought there were better in-game coaches. But after he embraced the tempo aspect of it and trying to score a lot of points, at that point, I would have taken him over anybody.
Yeah, but even when he had Lane Kiffin, 2 years in a row, Hugh Freeze coached circles around him game planning on Saturday.
I agree. That to me is the aberration.
The thing is, Nick Saban's the ultimate Jimmies and Joes over X's and O's, and he's always picked the right schools where he could get the Jimmies and Joes. LSU, Alabama.
Rebecca saying, I think they're fading too. Saban is losing his spark while Heupel is lighting it up. Alabama is getting lost in the success of others. Well said, Rebecca.